So, Safina, I mean, you've heard what Bwire has raised. Yes. So when you're doing the digital update for your online, because you deal with the online viewers and people who read the online tweets that you put out, how do you go about this?
Well, like he has mentioned, we have the media law, like ethics of code and conduct, which we adhere to. We have Facebook guidelines, which we are there to, because Facebook is also strict on fake news, on sharing information that should not be shared, you know. So we have things like that that guide us on a day-to-day. We have Twitter community guidelines and things of the same, because like you'd find during the plane crash, someone is just sharing photos, videos, maimed body parts, someone just throwing them on social media. But we know we have the responsibility to actually like sift through this information, check what adheres to the media law code of conduct, and then after that we can now share. So before we even share, we have like the 5 W's and H. We ask, is it responsible? Is it like where, why, who,
and why?
Why. Like you mentioned, prominence is important, yes, but at the cost or at the expense of what?
Okay.
Yeah.
And Bray, let's talk about the restriction imposed on the on Ethiopian media vis-a-vis the freedom of the media in Kenya, because even as this incident has happened, the Ethiopian government seems to be tight-lipped. You look at the media house, they're also not giving out that much information as compared to our journalists who are in Ethiopia trying to get tidbits here and there so that we can ensure that we give our viewers what's happening.
Thanks, brother. Ethiopia is coming from a season where freedom of media was not there. I've just come from Ethiopia, actually, and part of it, remember, even last week, there was a head delegation from here led by the president, and the media was part of it to look at if media in Kenya can invest in it. Ethiopia is coming from an area where it was closed, and while the current prime minister is opening up, but the pace is too fast. The media, remember, was almost a dead industry in Ethiopia. They had one TV station and a few radio stations that were purely government. So private media was almost non-existent, and even the few that existed worked under very terrorism act, very harsh media law, which are now being among the raft of laws that are being rectified right in Ethiopia. So while the prime minister has opened up, but the capacity also, the issue, and gradually people are dealing with the freedom. Remember what people are saying about Ethiopia, that from zero freedom to too much freedom, people are also unable to even harness it. So Ethiopia is growing gradually. The capacity, some of the newsroom there is 2-3 persons newsroom. Remember, majority of them are Amharic again, it's not English speaking. So that also affected the Ethiopian. But a lot of people are now investing in there, a number of media houses now coming up. In fact, I know almost 6 Kenyans who work in media houses in Ethiopia, and they are saying all of a sudden too much freedom. Some people have not believed that is happening. So they're picking up gradually. 2, even the civil servant in Ethiopia, while the prime minister has opened up as an individual, but remember the serikali thinking, the culture, many of the officials who work with him have not opened up that much. So they are gradually opening up, but it's not happening as we would expect in Kenya. That's why you would see many of our colleagues who are there are pushing more stories than the locals, who ordinarily would think would have more because it's their own country. Okay, Safina, but isn't this, having, putting pressure on you? Because, I mean, of course we have our crew there, both digital, newspaper, our newspaper writers, photographers, we have reporters, camera people in Ethiopia as we speak right now. Is that not really hard for you? Because, I mean, when the Ethiopian media is not giving as much as information, everyone is relying on the Ethiopian government to give information, and not so much is coming out from them. So where do you draw the line between, can I verify what my colleague is telling me vis-a-vis what the Ethiopian government is saying?
Well, what we noticed from Sunday's incident is that Ethiopian Airlines was giving out more information than Ethiopian media. So we liaise with them, because that way we have better information, because they understand what is happening better than even I think their media was doing at the moment. And I think the biggest problem is internet penetration as well, because in Ethiopia it's about like 15%. People are not so digital. The way here we have Kenyans on Twitter who are just ready to share information through and through. So I would say that through social media we were able to even get like some videos, photos, like I mentioned before, and liaising with international media houses like Reuters, BBC. Those are the guys whom we look up to sometimes for information, because I believe they have bigger teams who are better placed in such areas. Yeah.
Okay. And I don't know if this week you saw a tweet by one of the a reporter from an international media house that said they're forced by the Ethiopian, officials to delete some photos that they took from the scene of the accident. Why would the Ethiopian government want to restrict media from, giving out some information? And like if it happened in Kenya, the media has always been accused of, you're giving photos left, right, and center. You're not even caring about, the relatives of the victims.
I think that's a culture, and you are aware that we have been battling that even in this country, much as the Kenyan media is resilient and fight. But one of the challenges the government has been raising, especially around issues of terrorism attacks and what, has been that immediately people they rarely care. Everybody wants to release. Remember in the Security Amendment Act 2014, one of the laws government had brought in was that for you to use any photo from terrorism or national security related, it must go to police headquarters to be approved to be used. That was the thinking. That how and sometimes how it's like, for example, Ethiopia is one of the biggest airlines in Africa, and why they were giving a lot of information, even more than the media. They have other planes outside there. They have other passengers outside there. What happens if we are not giving? Remember now they are being judged by international standards, not just Ethiopia standards. So at that level, the push to give more information was at that level. But remember, even here, the challenge we are having is that photos sometimes, a photo talks, 1,000 words.
Yeah.
And what photo do you give outside there sometimes matters. I understand, and we have had this discussion where we are telling sometimes colleagues that even those photos, the little you complain about, is 80% of what the journalists go through, because you get even worse picture. The radio editors, you go through hell. And we have to organize even trauma counseling sessions for video editors, photographers, because they go. But you will see what they thought was a better one, even people are still complaining about it, and you can see those challenges. So it's also something we are talking about in terms of media literacy. How do we help people understand that it's not easy as people think to pick even that photo they are complaining about? That editors here go through hell just to decide on that even bad photo we are talking about. So it's a difficult thing, but remember also in journalism there's that principle of shocking the nation. How else do you talk about a story of an accident without showing a photo of accident?
And in fact, I'm even about to ask Safina that, because some Kenyans on social media, especially Twitter, that's where you get the breaking news even before the media puts it out. And there are concerns that why are you using the same photo every time? Why can't you change, like the Ethiopian, flight crash, and it's the same photo that being used over and over. We're not getting new photos. Yeah. So how do you go about that? Because first, we've sent our crew in a place whereby the media right there is restricted when it comes to what they have to relay out to people.
Yeah. I think on that, again, on the guidelines, we can't share everything because we'll have our accounts pulled down or something of the sort. We'll be flagged for sharing. Media Observer will write about us on Monday.
Ready to write a letter.
Will write us a letter on Monday telling us what we put out there was not like legitimate information, or it was too alarming. Sometimes you have to protect the audience, in my opinion. Yeah. So I think with regards to people saying you're sharing the same photo, it's best for national interest, I would say, and also we're thinking about the victims and the families of the affected, because can you imagine seeing a photo video of your brother, sister there? It's very heartbreaking. Yeah, so we stick to the guidelines, we stick to the code of conduct so that we avoid some of these issues that come, because I think getting backlash on Twitter, it's better than being flagged by media council for being irresponsible.